Good morning. This is the video for the ox in Meyer's 1570 book. He only really gives us one play in the ox section, but he gives us quite a bit of advice. So I'm going to summarize that advice a little bit because it is good stuff, and then I'm going to give you the play and the shorthand. So the advice he gives us is, he says specifically that by this point in the book, he expects you to kind of understand how the cuts and the various handworks, the things he has you do with the sword work, and that the things you're doing from ox can be done from the other guards. So he is starting to emphasize how this is a holistic system, and it's not just these plays from these guards, but you can do most of them. And then he says that this ox is particularly good for laying on against your opponent. Because it threatens the thrust, it gives you a good opportunity to seize the initiative. And one of the things he talks about is, in this, once you've seized the initiative, you want to keep it. So he says that there are 4 kind of primary lines of attack on either side. So for him, there's the downward line, the diagonal line, the middle line, and the upward diagonal line on both sides. So kind of that standard cutting asterisk we've seen in a lot of different systems. He just says to know that these are your major routes of attack on either side, and he expects you to be able to do them with the true edge, the false edge, the flats, if that's what he's calling for. And he says that once you've started your attack, cut opposite that along the same diagonal line or across that middle line so that you can keep the initiative going. He's very big in this play about not letting your opponent get the chance to counter back. And then he does say that if you do end up being forced to defend from the ox position, and just in case that's not clear to anyone, the ox is the high point forward guard. He says if you find yourself in the ox position and the person attacks, you should extend into long point and turn your long edge into the cut. So even we're in this kind of retracted position with the point forward, if they attack, we're going to defend with that same parry we've seen other places. We're just going to extend out to that parrying position. So that's really important. That's kind of the general advice that he gives you from the ox. So know that you can do plays from other guards from ox. Know that this is a great offensive play because it threatens with the point and it lets you seize the initiative. He talks about the importance of keeping the initiative and then using those lines of attack with your various types of attacks, and then cutting around opposite along the same line or along the middle line to facilitate kind of this continuous flow of attacking. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about the play itself. It's kind of long, so I'm going to read it slowly, and then I'll give you the shorthand, which is much simpler. In the onset, when you come into the guard of the ox through the plunge, then as soon as you can reach him, deliver a powerful wrath cut from your right diagonally at his left ear with a broad step forward on your right foot. As soon as the cut connects or hits, at once pull back around and cut opposite to it at his right arm, also with the long edge. And with this cut, step with your left foot well toward his right and take your head well out to the side behind your blade. Meanwhile, he may be ready to cut or else to extend his sword forward to parry. Therefore, let your blade hang down behind you away from his right arm, and meanwhile pull your haft around your head towards your right and take his blade out, whether he is striking or has extended to parry, with your long edge or flat, powerfully and strongly across from your right against his left, so that you break right through with your blade, and it is taking out, let your blade fly in a single motion back around above your head for a thwart at his left ear. From there, pull your sword back around your head and cut a strongly inward arcing stroke with the outside flat against at his right ear. You will see the stroke with the flat depicted in image K. And in the stroke, see that you step with your left foot well out to his right side. From this stroke, with the flat or rebound cut, pull your sword up over your head, hold your hands up and let the blade fly around with the long edge at his right arm, but do not connect. Rather deliver a thwart quickly at his left ear with the back step and withdraw. Even if you should be stopped in this device, you still have the slice in store with which you can make space for yourself, again, either to complete the device or to undertake another. That's a lot. So, what he is saying to do. Now, the plunge is a named cut when Meyer's describing the cuts. And so the plunging cut, if you cut an overcut, it's going to cut through and come back around over into this ox. Also, from the high guard, you can just plunge it over into this ox position. So if we're in a high cutting guard, doesn't really matter which one, we can plunge this over into the ox position, or we can actually throw a cut and let it recover all the way around into the ox. Both of these are good for essentially telling our opponent, watch out, you've got this point in your face. So it is a good laying on device. So however we get to the ox, what we're going to do is we're going to step and deliver a powerful wrath cut. So this is your kind of 45-degree cut from here. Then we're going to step and cut to the other side. if they have parried this, what we're going to do is bring this around and we're going to hit their sword. So we're coming all the way around to hit their sword out of the way and let it turn right into a thwart cut. From there, we're going to step and hit with the outside flat. So from this thwart, outside flat to their right ear, then we're going to pick up and fake this lead edge cut and snap it right back into the thwart cut. And then we're going to leave. So the shorthand: ox, wrath, oppose, slap, thwart, outside flat, fake, thwart, and then cut to lead maybe. That's kind of my mental shorthand. So let me go through that again. Ox, wrath, oppose, slap, thwart, outside flat, fake, thwart, and then we can cut away to leave. It's actually a really fun play to do on the Pell because it's very dynamic. It lends itself to a nice flowy cutting pattern. So there's a couple ways I approach this when I'm attacking my Pell. I might start with the left foot back and do an overcut that comes right into the thwart. I'm sorry, right into the ox. Let me do that again. So I can start with my overcut, cut all the way through into the ox, then wrath, oppose, slap, thwart, outside flat. This motion is easier if you do pick up your hands. It makes it easier to do that, fake and come back. The other thing you can do is you can start in your right foot back and just do this kind of shorter plunging motion. I do like, if I'm doing this shorter rather than the full cut, if I'm just kind of popping over, I do like just a little tiny gather step because we want the opponent to feel under threat. We want them to start to, before we even get to them, start to feel in a defensive mindset. So if I just do this with my sword, maybe, but if I make me feel like, oh shit, here it comes, and then you're kind of selling it more. So whether you do the full cut all the way around to ox or you just hop over, make sure that your body is telling the same story as your sword, which is, hey, I'm threatening you. So from here, ox, wrath, oppose, slap, thwart, outside flat, fake, thwart, cut through. So, like I said, it's a really fun play to practice on the Pell because it is very, very dynamic. So that last little cut at the end is just for me because I like to leave with a attack. That last thwart, you could also just stay under cover and back out. That'd be perfectly fine. But I would play with both versions with the cut all the way through and just turn it into kind of a nice wind-up. And then the shorter, just kind of short plunge, but selling it with the body. Both of those are good. So just to kind of bring everything back together, remember, we're going to pop over. That's the plunge, either the full or the short plunge. Meyer's advice is that this is a good guard to lay on because we're presenting a threat. And he reminds us that we should be able to hit all the angles of cutting with all of our attacks. So we're going to threaten, wrath, oppose, take out the sword, thwart, outside flat. And that means my knuckles, fake, thwart. And maybe cut with the leading. And then just to remind you that kind of final advice, although we want to use this guard as a good threatening posture and seize the initiative, if we can't, we're going to extend out into long point and do the type of parrying that he's already told us about, and then we just do plays from there. So hopefully you find this play as much fun as I do. The way I do this is I do 10 reps, 10 repetitions of whatever play I'm going to make a video on. And I would say this last week has been one of the most fun because I find this play very flowy and dynamic and fun to do. So hopefully you have as much fun with it as I did, and we'll do something else next week.